Hello everybody, welcome here on GCN Racing, and this is my name, Jose Bain, and I will guide you through the last day of the Boels Ladies Tour. But before we go and see all the action of the final stage, let's take a little look back at yesterday, where the GC was turned upside down. This was actually the decisive moment in the race where Swedish rider Sarah Penton attacked with Rianne Marcus with her Francisca Koch, and then very cleverly it was Christine Magirus bridging across. Vittoria Guazzini, the young Italian rider, tried, but she never manages to get to the first four riders. On the Oude Holleweg, actually the only climb of the day, we lost Sarah Penton, but Christine Magirus kept on powering. She knew that with only 20 seconds down in the GC, she had a big chance of overtaking the lead, even if she didn't win the stage. But of course, the Luxembourg national champion wants to win the stage. But the same goes for Rianne Marcus. She has had some near misses like Elsie Jacobs this year. And also in yesterday's stage, she didn't manage to win. It was a very fine sprint between Magirus, who had given her all, and Francisca Koch. And to everybody's surprise, including her own, she is the winner of the stage. It's actually the first season win of Team Sunweb. Francisca Koch, 19 years of age only. She was born in July 2000. Doesn't that make you feel old? Christine Magirus in second, Rianne Marcus in third. And that was enough, those 20 seconds, to overtake the lead. She now actually has a lead on Lisa Klein of 30 seconds, Lorena Wiebes at 32, and Amy Pieters at 36. Lucinda Brandt in fifth, and Annemiek van Vleuten in sixth place at 42 seconds. This is today's map. We go from Nijmegen to Arnhem, so that's the other way around. Yesterday we went to the west, and today we move to the east. Still in the province of Gelderland, through the region of the Achterhoek, and we have a very interesting final circuit with some steep climbs. Live racing footage there with the peloton a little bit indecisive. What should they do? Because we have one rider in the lead, and as you can see, her gap is rather big at the moment, 3 minutes, and that lone race leader is Malgorzata Jasinska of the Movistar team. She is down on the GC 18 minutes, so she's not a threat to Christine Magirus, but of course there's still many teams without a stage win, so they would be interesting in taking some action here. Georgia Williams of the Mitchelton Scott team, they start racing here. Also, the FDG team, very active here. Of course, they don't have a stage win. We also see the polka dot jersey worn at the moment by, I think it's Ashley Mollman. It is Ashley Mollman. Leader in that polka dot classification, that mountain classification, is Magirus. Oh, it's actually Amelie Lusick wearing the jersey of the Canyon SRAM team. Magirus leads the classification with 6 points. We've got 2 Queen of the Mountain sprints today, so that's another 10 points on offer, so that classification will change today. Leader is, of course, Magirus in the orange jersey. Lorena Wiebes is in the green jersey of the points classification. Best young rider is also Lorena Wiebes, but the jersey is worn by Lonneke Uneken. And the sprint classification, the blue jersey here, worn by Kirsten Wild. She already has 12 points, and with only 3 points on offer today, she has that classification wrapped up. Of course, she has to finish the race. The only time before we finished in Arnhem was in 2017, and then it was Kirsten Wild winning the stage. Despite the hills and the punchy climbs in the final, it became a bunch sprint, and that can happen today as well. But first, with just over an hour of racing left, the peloton have to go and catch the former Polish champion, Jasinska. Welcome everybody also on the chat of the GCN Racing YouTube channel and Facebook channels. Nice that you can join us here, because you know, the more viewers we have here on GCN Racing, the more races we can bring you. And it's such a privilege to be able to bring you some very exciting women's racing today. There's the green jersey with 2-time stage winner Lorena Wiebes. But everybody lost valuable time yesterday due to that attack of Magirus Marcus Penton. and Franziska Koch. The young German is actually a former mountain biker, Franziska Koch. And well, we know that cyclocross and mountain biking is a great foundation to have a good road racing career. And Koch, well, we know her from mountain biking, but she's shown already that she is a great road racer already and has the potential to become one of the best in the world. This is Monique Teneglo of the Mitchelton Scott team. Following her, the rider from Israel, Rotem Gavinovic. And also in that orange jersey, we can see her in 5th place, Majirus. Well, that might be an orange jersey of the national team. They still have 3 riders in the race of the national team. And there's one team down to 1 rider only, and that's the Tipco team. Only Alison Jackson there. Of course, Team Tipco would have loved to race here in Holland with their 2 Dutch riders, Rosa Slick and Nina Kessler. But they both have an injury, actually, so they couldn't race. So they had 2 guest riders with Anna Henderson, amongst others. Attack here by, I think this is Marije Meijering. We know her from the Healthy Aging Tour, where she was one of the best riders from a club team. It is indeed Marije Meijering. She was very active and one of the only club riders who could follow all the World Tour riders in the Healthy Aging Tour. Great result back then by Marije Meijering. One of those riders who's just in between quality of a club team and a UCI Pro team. And well, many club teams are disappearing at the moment due to a change in structure. So it is going to be more and more difficult for these riders to find a place in UCI teams. But this is what they have to do, because Jasinska, of course, is a fantastic rider. We haven't seen any images of her just yet, but she is riding in front for Team Movistar, attacked on her own. And well, if you look at some of the results of Jasinska, there are some pretty incredible, pretty impressive results. Not incredible, impressive results. 6th in the Tour of Flanders. She was 5th last year during the World Championships. 7th in Plouay. And last year, during the only edition of Veenendaal for women, she was in a 2-woman breakaway with Annemiek van Vleuten, more or less on the same terrain. Veenendaal is a little bit more to the west here, but they did the same climbs we do today. And she was in a sprint with Annemiek van Vleuten, lost to Van Vleuten, so got 2nd in that one. And so far, only edition of Veenendaal for women. Well, no reaction so far from the peloton. A little bit of communication there by Lizzie Banks of the Bigler team. She's doing a great race so far, Lizzie Banks. Also, of course, Leah Thomas there with the bandages on her arm. One of those riders who crashed. One of the more horrific crashes yesterday was Ellen van Dijk. She couldn't avoid a rider in front of her, crashed over that rider, landed on her hip, broke her pelvis and her upper arm. She already had surgery on the shoulder, and she's going to have a shouldery on the humerus fracture as well. Of course, this is the end of the season for Ellen van Dijk, which is a bit of a heartbreak because she had focused her entire season on the World Championships time trial in Yorkshire 2013. She was the World Time Trial Champion in Firenze in Italy, and she would have loved to add another rainbow jersey to her collection, but that's not going to happen. She's in a hospital bed and she cannot stand for 6 weeks, so it's going to be a long recovery period for Ellen van Dijk. But we do hope that she is coming back, because she is an absolutely incredible bike racer and has been vital to many wins of her teammates. Last year, for example, in the Tour of Flanders, bringing back the group with Corin Rivera. Same in Grand Prix de Plouay when she was racing for the Sunweb team. She's always vital in her team. You can see Roxanne Kneteman shaking her head there on the left-hand side of the road. This is the very final race day of her career. Roxanne Kneteman, a daughter of a former world champion Gerry Kneteman. And she's decided to call it a day. Next month she's going to have a goodbye criterium in Assendelft, near where she lives. And then it's over for Roxanne Kneteman. She was a little bit tearful about it, of course. Has been a very good bike racer, part of the fantastic Rabobank Live team with all those big stars, Van der Breggen, Ferrand-Prévot, Van Vleuten, Kneteman, etc., etc. Marianne Vos, of course. So she's a big star of Dutch cycling, and she's saying goodbye. 37 kilometers out from the finish line at the moment, meaning that we are approaching Roosendaal, and Roosendaal is where we are finding the first two climbs of the day, the Bosbank and the Emma Pyramide. And Bosbank was also part of the Giro d'Italia when it started in the Netherlands, where Maarten Cialinghi picked up the mountain points. One of the steep climbs here in the east of the country, and the images will be absolutely splendid as we can see the heather blossoming, although it's almost at the end of the period that the heather is blossoming, but still it's going to make for some pretty images there on the Bosbank. So that's coming pretty fast. The Bosbank in about 4 kilometers from now, or actually we're almost there, approaching here from this side, so the steep side, and then moving on across to the Emma Pyramide. Then we go back to Arnhem. We go to Arnhem for the first time actually and do some local laps of 8.5 kilometers, including 2 climbs, the Zijpendaalseweg and the Bakenbergseweg. There's Kirsten Wild on the left-hand side of the road in that blue jersey. There's one more sprint for her classification left, but well, she cannot be overtaken by anybody else. This is the moment of the Bosbank, and well, every Dutch viewer who has been riding here knows that this is the easy bit, but just at the end when you have the right-hand turn, that's the steepest bit, and that's where everybody is dying just a little bit, depending on how strong you are. One did not start. Jip van der Bos, the rider of the Boels Dolmans team, they fear that she has broken her wrist yesterday at a crash. So only 4 teammates left for Christine Magirus to defend the jersey. But, well, we have former world champion Chantal Blaak, current world champion Anna van der Breggen, current European champion Amy Pieters, and current Danish champion and former world champion Amelie Diederiksen. So I think the Boels Dolmans team is still pretty strong to defend that lead. Yet again, the leader at the moment, Jasinska, is 10 minutes down in the GC. She's 43rd, so she's not a threat to Magirus. Van Vleuten also preparing for the Bosbank. We're not far from where she lives, so if she wants to do some intervals for her training, Bosbank is a good place to do that. Also Lucinda Brandt at the front there, Marta Bastianelli of course, the national champion of Italy and Tour of Flanders winner this year amongst others. And there's also the start there of the Bosbank for the peloton. So the gap should be about 1.5–2 minutes indeed. There we are. There's points on offer there and seconds. And Van Vleuten is now currently 6th in the GC, 42 seconds down on the race leader, but only 2 seconds behind the number 5 and only 10 seconds behind the number 3. And if we look at the UCI Women's World Tour ranking, we see that the gap between Marianne Vos and Annemiek van Vleuten is 100 points. She's already won a stage, which is 25 points, so she needs another 75 to overtake the lead in the UCI Women's World Tour ranking, with 2 more races to go, Madrid and Guangxi. And if she's 5th or higher, Annemiek van Vleuten will overtake the lead. 1 kilometer to go for the Bosbank sprint. And this is the heather I was talking about. What a splendid image there of the Veluwe with Annemiek van Vleuten. And this is Jasinska. She should be at the top more or less. And then we have an accurate timing point as well. to see what the actual difference between the peloton and Jasinska is. There she is. This is that final right-hand turn I was talking about, where everybody dies just a little bit. That final part is horrible. You really have to time your effort. And this is also the place, if you look back at the Giro in 2015 or 16, no, 2016. This is where Martin Ciulinghi almost lost that sprint, but she's there. So we're going to start the timer. 5 points for Jasinska for the mountain classification as well. And the next mountain sprint is coming up in 6 kilometers. So she can just go all the way and take home that polka dot jersey in one of her last races for Movistar. That's the top of the postbank, and we are awaiting the peloton. Let's see if we can give you an accurate time gap. Oh man, I really want to throw my bike in the car tomorrow and ride this. Absolutely love this part of the country. There we are. The gap is only 45 seconds between Jasinska and the peloton. So 45 seconds is the actual gap. This looks like Lucinda Brandt picking up 3 points for that mountain classification. So Jasinska's got 5, 3 for Lucinda Brandt. But Jasinska can go all the way up to the Emma Pyramide, which is in 4-5 kilometers from here. Thankfully, the weather is better than yesterday. It is not going to rain today. There's not a lot of wind either, so the circumstances are better. But this is a really long stage, and if you include the neutral section, it's actually the longest stage of the week. And after 5 days of racing, there's only 68 riders left in the bunch of the 101 that took the start in Sittard on Tuesday. Wonderful images there from the helicopter. Looks like we have some trouble with the motorbike connection there, but this is even better. Pace is going down just a little bit after the postbank climb as we await the next climb. The peloton also knows that the gap between them and Jasinska is only 45 seconds, so that's manageable. Let's see if we can get another timing point on the Emma Pyramide. Emma Pyramide, also a climb that has been part of Veenendaal, the men's classic, for many years. And it's actually quite a nice climb. It's not difficult. It's 3 to 4%. It's a nice gradual climb. And well, as you know, in the Netherlands, we don't have many climbs to boast. So whatever you can get, just do it 10 times and you have a little bit of an effort there. Repeat there of the sprint from the peloton on the postbank, with Lucinda Brandt there in first place, oh, in second place, of course, behind Jasinska. But also important, Brandt takes 2 bonus seconds. It's not only the mountain sprints, she doesn't really care about that probably, but she has taken 2 seconds, so she's now 38 seconds behind Magirus, but 2 seconds behind Pieters, although it might have been that Pieters took that 1 remaining second. We'll still have to wait for confirmation. Attack there again by Marije Meijering, also Rianne Marcus in that red jersey of most aggressive rider of yesterday, being part of that breakaway, of course. And the woman in the polka dot jersey is Amia Lusik, followed by Leah Thomas. There we have Magirus, Lorena Wiebes, who has grown into so much more than just a sprinter. If you look back at races like Gent-Wevelgem, but also the Healthy Aging Tour, she always manages to be in the right echelon. She has got a very good sense of racing. She knows when to be at the front, and well, she has got a good team, but she doesn't have a strong team like Mitchelton Scott or Trek Segafredo or Boels. So she has to rely on herself. And of course, her team, they do a lot of work earlier on in the stage, things that we normally do not see. But when we get a little bit further on in the race, Lorena Wiebes usually is alone. So she has to rely on herself. And if you look at the evolution of Lorena Wiebes. It's absolutely incredible in her second year only as a professional elite rider, one of the best riders of the world, and of course she also leads the UCI women's ranking. More attacks happening here as we are somewhere over there. We've lost the connection between the motorbike camera due to the heavily forested area where we are riding at the moment. But Jasinska still powering on there on the Emma Pyramide. Lots of turns. That's why they call it a pyramid. It's about 90 meters above sea level. The actual climb officially is no more than 500 meters. And that averages about 6%. But if you take into account the entire climb, it's a little bit easier, of course, because you also have this downhill section. In the back is Arnhem. That's where we're going. It's the 13th city of the Netherlands. 160,000 people live there. In Arnhem, and especially during the Second World War, it's a very important town. It lies on the River Rhine, which is a natural border between the north and the south of the country. And in September of 1944, so almost 75 years ago, it started on the 17th of December, the Battle of Arnhem. They tried to get across the Rhine River, and all the bridges were being kept by the German Nazis, the occupying force here in the Netherlands. And despite the liberation of the south of the country, they didn't manage to get across the Rhine River, the Allied forces, the Canadians, the British, the Americans, etc., Polish as well. They didn't manage to get across the Rhine River, and that's why the north of the Netherlands did not get liberated until spring of 45, and due to the lack of basically everything in that winter of 44-45, they call that the hunger winter, and many people, especially in the cities, died of starvation in 1945. And this year there's a lot of commemoration of the 75 years of liberation, and there will be also next weekend here and near Ede, where we were before, the Airborne, where we going to see some reenactment of the paratroopers trying to liberate the country. So we also have some big cemeteries here. Well, the race situation has suddenly changed with the Sunweb rider now overtaking Jasinska on the Emma Pyramide. And of course, this is yesterday's winner, Franziska Koch, the German rider. Well, she's really gotten a taste of it after that win of yesterday. But attacking happening here as well with Annemiek van Vleuten, with Lorena Wiebes. And overtaking Jasinska there as well on the Emma Pyramide. Almost at the top. This is the hardest part of the day. Oh, look at Jasinska. She's absolutely done and dusted there, trying to catch on. But the pace, of course, of Annemiek van Vleuten is absolutely furious. But look at Lorena Wiebes in that green jersey. Look how she almost manages to stay with Annemiek van Vleuten on this climb. What an incredible talent is Lorena Wiebes. But still leading the race, the youngest one of them all, Franziska Koch. She's already done the Emma Pyramide and is now on the downhill which is really great if the roads are closed, but pretty treacherous if you're descending here and there's upcoming traffic. 41 is of course Lucinda Brandt. Now we have a view of her. We know that it's not Franziska Koch. Camera images are luckily a little bit better now. It is absolutely Lucinda Brandt, who was second on the Postbank and now first on the Emma Pyramide. So she has 8 points. So I think she is going to be the winner of the polka dot jersey, depending on her place in the GC. Okay, back to the racing with Annemiek van Vleuten currently in second place. But look at Lucinda Brandt. I was actually amazed to read that the victory of Franziska Koch yesterday was the first for Team Sunweb. Of course, Lea Kirchmann is the national time trial champion, and she also won the Chrono Catino in Canada, but she did that with the national team. So that motorbike has to move up a little bit there. But Kirchmann won those races as part of the Canadian national team, or the Gatineau race then in the national championship. So you have to really say, is a national championship not the first win of the team? I'd say yes, but some people say no. Beautiful images there of the region, but we want to see bike racing. The connections are a little bit unstable today, as Annemiek van Vleuten tries to get to Brandt. Van Vleuten is 6th in the GC. Brandt is 5th. And look at how she's giving everything. What a fantastic bike rider. And she has one goal, and that is taking the rainbow jersey. 2 of them, not only on the time trial, and I don't see anybody there as competition for Annemiek van Vleuten. If you see the differences at the national championships, 1.5 minutes between her and Ellen van Dijk. Ellen van Dijk, of course, not competing at the Worlds. So I don't see who can be a threat to Annemiek van Vleuten in the time trial. But in the road race, well, of course she wants that one. She hasn't won the world title just yet. And she's already looking forward to that. 8 strong riders from the Netherlands. The national team selection will be announced tomorrow. But of course, Lucinda Brandt will be part of it. Marianne Vos, Anna van der Breggen, Annemiek van Vleuten, Amy Pieters. So that's 5 names that you already have. And then we'll have to wait for the other names to be announced. Chantal Blaak, I don't think she's on great form at the moment, but of course she is a former world champion. Rianne Marcus might be interesting to take to the World Championship as a domestique. And maybe give a chance to a rider like Monique Tenneglo to go and be a domestique for the team. There's so many riders to choose from in the Netherlands to take to a World Championship. So we're going to wait for that selection tomorrow of the women's team and of course the junior women's team as well, including the European champion Ilse Pluimers. Question on the YouTube feed by Vosje. It's not Marianne Vos though, it's a male Vos. He asked how many women participate in the race. Well, we started with 101 and we're down to 68 at the moment, especially on day 1, many crashes, day 2, many crashes, and day 3 was a really hard day with local laps, and then sometimes riders are taking out of the race if the gap between them and the peloton is just too big, because you cannot lap riders. And we were doing a lap in Nijmegen, so many riders, 14 of them were taking out on that day. Lucinda Brandt powering on. She signed a contract with Trek Segafredo for next year and with the Baloise Telenet team for cyclocross. She wants that world title, and the World Championship cyclocross will be in Switzerland next year in Dubendorf. It's going to be a very fast course. They already call it a highway of cyclocross. So let's pray for rain and mud and snow and hail and slate and whatever you have. But that's the place where Lucinda Brandt wants to have that rainbow jersey. Last year, or this year actually, in Denmark, she made many mistakes. And Sonnekant did not make any mistakes. And that's how Sonnekant got another rainbow jersey. But that's for February. This is first the Road World Championships. And of course, the decision here in the Boels Ladies Tour. Van Vleuten chasing down Lucinda Brandt, but we can see the peloton, or what's left of it, because we left many riders behind on the Postbank and Emma Pyramide climbs. Now we are going into Arnhem. We are almost on the local circuit, 3 more kilometers as we enter the local circuit, where we have a few climbs, but a very fast downhill finish. Let's see, that's Hannah Barnes, of course, Diederiksen, Van der Breggen, Lisa Klein, Nieva Doma. Looks like all the big riders are there. In the middle, in the orange jersey, still Marije Meijering, and we're looking out for Majerus in the other orange jersey. She is there, the leader in the GC. Kirsten Wild moving up on the left-hand side of the road. Let's see if I can get confirmation of the sprints and the GC on the mountain classification. It was indeed Amy Pieters who was 3rd on the Postbank bonus sprint, so she got 1 second. Lucinda Brandt got 2, meaning that Lucinda Brandt is getting 1 second closer there to Amy Pieters. And we are awaiting the result on the Emma Pyramide climb. But it looks like Brandt has got herself 8 points for the King of the Mountain or Queen of the Mountain classification here. Great group here with many riders of Canyon SRAM. There is Majerus on the wheel of Brennauer, also Floortje Mackay, Rianne Marcus, a teammate of the Park Hotel Valkenburg team for Lorena Wiebes. Lonneke Uneke taking the other side of the roundabout. Looks like Van Vleuten is caught by the peloton and Lucinda Brandt still powering on. Of course, I'm always interested to see when it's going to be decision time. If you look at flying in an airplane, you've got V1, which is the point where you cannot stop the start of the plane. You cannot stop anymore. You can't stop the plane anymore at V1. But Lucinda Brandt, maybe she should stop now, because there's also a sprint and there's also going to be very demanding final course, final lap of 8.5 kilometers, and there's 10 bonus seconds on the finish line as well. Problems there. Please do not try this at home, because these people are very skilled mechanics. But there's this decision point where you have to decide, okay, am I going to continue or am I going to stop, save energy and try again on the local laps to win back some time to move up? Because if you look at the podium, the number 2 and the number 6, they're only 10 seconds apart. So Majerus looks pretty safe at the moment. But if we look at the places 2 and 3, so joining her on the podium, there's still a possibility for Klein, for Wiebes, for Pieters, for Brandt, for Van Vleuten. She looks over her shoulder, knowing full well that the peloton is really, really close. But this is one of her last races for the Sunweb team. And they will for sure miss her, because she's a road captain. She's very experienced. And they will miss her next year. when she moves to Trek Segafredo. Time for a gel. All that instant energy. Sticky stuff. But it gives you energy about 1.5 to 2 minutes after you had the gel. And the good thing is you don't have to chew, so which makes it easier when you're in attack mode or in a climb. When you're already short of breath, you don't have to chew a bar or anything else. So that's why in a final of a race, most riders prefer gels for that instant energy boost. Lucinda Brandt, one of her best victories was the Grand Prix de Plouet a few years ago. When she attacked, she dropped, she attacked, she dropped again, and in the end won the race. If you can look up the footage of that race, Grand Prix de Plouet a few years ago, it was an absolutely amazing race, like it is every year. One of the best races on the calendar, I think. And I was impressed by Lucinda Brandt. She's not only a fantastic bike racer, she's also a lovely person, doing a lot of work for charity for a team called the Rijndam Racers, which is a rehab center for people with paralysis, people who cannot walk anymore. They are in special bikes, hand bikes, of course, climbing mountains in Austria, the Hand Bike Challenge. And she supports those riders, the Rijndam Racers, from the rehab center, because well, she was there as an intern during her studies, and inspired by the people working on their comeback there after suffering paralysis. So that's Lucinda Brandt, not only a great bike racer, but also a wonderful human being. Some communication there between Lucinda Brandt and the team. They are on the local circuit at the moment. If you look at the profile of the local 8.5 kilometer loop, there's 2 climbs in it. One is the Sijpendalse Weg, which is about 1.4 kilometer, averages 2%, and one is the Batenbergse Weg, which is a little bit more steep. We were on the exact same route 2 years ago, and if you look at Strava, you can see that the Queen of the Mountain on the Sijpendalse Weg segment is held by Ellen van Dijk, 2:20. Peloton down to about 35 riders, if I do a quick count. And the first time we cross the finish line is going to be at 17.2 kilometers, so that's about 3 kilometers from now. So far, wide roads moving into the finish in Arnhem. Very long stage, like I said before, 155 kilometers plus 11 neutral. Maximum distance of a UCI Women's World Tour race is 160, but that doesn't include the neutral. So with the neutral, you can go a little bit over 160. And you can see here how fast the sprint is going to be a little bit later on. It's on a downhill on the Sijpendalse Weg here. So it's going to be very difficult to move up. Everybody will be at full speed. You will have to attack on that penultimate climb to really try and stay away and to avoid a bunch sprint. But we have already seen that the woman in green is there, Lorena Wiebes, and also the woman in blue is there, and that is Kirsten Wild. It's 2-0 to Wiebes at the moment. So let's see what Kirsten Wild can do today. But still, Lucinda Brandt powering on. big loss to the team next year, I should say. Team will be about a lot of young riders with the experience of Lea Kirchmann, amongst others, Julia Soek. But the road captain potential of Lucinda Brandt is enormous. Okay. Anne van der Breggen leading the chase here with Niewiadoma, with Barnes, with Diederiksen, with basically the entire Canyon SRAM team, and in that orange jersey with the helmet in the colors of the Luxembourg flag, of course, Christine Magirus. Well, it's great to see that you guys are checking in from all over the world, viewers from Australia, viewers from the Philippines, even Isla de Margarita, which is in Venezuela. Welcome, Luis, from Venezuela. Great that you're watching GCN Racing. And this is what we want to do for you. We want to bring you top women's and men's cycling around the world. So just keep on spreading the word so we can bring you more and more racing this year and in the seasons to come. So thanks very much for joining us from wherever you are in the world. This is an all or nothing attack by Lucinda Brandt. She attacked basically on top of the Postbank, going across towards the Emma Pyramide, and now she's been in the lead for over 15 kilometers already. And it's not as if they're not chasing in the bunch. You can see that the pace is still pretty high. All the way at the back here with stage winner in Elsie Jacobs, Marta Lach, also her compatriot Agnieszka Skalniak, both riders from Poland of the CCC Live team. But still, Lucinda Brandt, former Dutch national champion as well. Although she doesn't have the bands on her sleeves. More people checking in, even from Nijmegen, which is across the road from here, so you should have gone to the finish line. Johan is checking in from Sweden, from Zweden, South Africa. Hi Ben, welcome. Much love from Spain as well. So great that you're all watching here as we are going towards the final of the Boels Ladies Tour here in the Netherlands. Prologue in Sittard, won by Annemiek van Vleuten. The first two road stages by Lorena Wiebes. Then that wonderful stage victory and the orange jersey for Lisa Klein. Yesterday, another German winner in Franziska Koch. And who's going to win the final stage? And is somebody going to be a threat to Christine Magirus? 30 seconds she has on Lisa Klein after that breakaway yesterday. It was very, very smart racing by Christine Magirus, bridging across to these three leaders at that point, because that was indeed the decisive move. One World Tour victory before for Christine Magirus, a stage win in the Tour of Britain. She won 2 stages in the Tour of Britain, but only once was it a World Tour race. So today, the final overall classification in the Boels Ladies Tour can be her second win on World Tour level. And Boels Dolmans, they haven't been as dominant as they were in years before. Of course, Anne van der Breggen won the Flèche Wallonne. She won the Grand Prix de Plouay. She won the Emgin Tour of California. But there were years that the Boels Dolmans team was very, very dominant in women's racing. And they're not this year. This year the wins were more evenly spread. Of course, multiple wins for Marianne Vos, for Kirsten Wild, for Marta Bastianelli. But also a fantastic win in the Basque Country by Elisa Longo Borghini, for example. Lorena Wiebes won many races the Tour of Chongming Island, of course, 3 stages and the final overall. We've got 2 more races left on the UCI Women's World Tour, with next weekend the Madrid Challenge. Actually, it's 2 stages. Last year, Ellen van Dijk won the overall there, and then the final race in Guangxi. But if we look at big differences, I doubt if we're going to see Annemiek van Vleuten in the Madrid Challenge or Guangxi. And the same goes for Marianne Vos. So for the overall win, this could be a very important race. Marianne Vos not racing here. She's actually in Livigno at the moment, at altitude to prepare for the World Championships in Yorkshire. And I don't know from the top of my mind how many world titles she has, but there's a lot of world titles behind her name. I think from the top of my head, but maybe you can correct me, 3 road race world titles. One when she was a first-year elite rider, then Valkenburg and then Firenze. I think those are the 3 road race world titles for Marianne Vos, but maybe somebody on the YouTube chat can verify that for me. But I think she's got 3, so in Yorkshire she could go for her 4th road race world title. Great effort here by Lucinda Brandt. She comes from around Rotterdam. And if we look at all the wins behind her name, her last win was actually a stage win in the Giro d'Italia in 2017. She won Omloop het Nieuwsblad. She won the Ladies Tour of Norway, 2 stages in the Giro in 2015. That wonderful win in Grand Prix de Plouay-Bretagne. 2 times national road race champion for Lucinda Brandt, who turned 30 this July. Roxanne Kneteman there with number 115. The final 15 kilometers of her road racing career are starting now for Roxanne Kneteman, who was also part of that Rabobank Live women's team. And if you look at some of the names who were part of that team, Talita de Jong, cyclocross world champion, Ferrand Prévot, current mountain bike world champion, and actually the only human being holding all 3 titles at the same time, road, cyclocross and mountain biking. Njema Doma was part of that team. Anna van der Breggen, Annemiek van Vleuten, Marianne Vos, absolutely incredible team. That was the biggest team in the history of women's racing, I think, the Rabobank Live team, halfway through the 2010 era. Look at that cornering by Lucinda Brandt. Oof, I wish I could take a corner like that. And she once explained to me that Dutch riders can ride races like this so well because they are used to racing crits with the boys from a very early age on. And if you look at Lucinda Brandt, she always rode with her dad and her brother. And she didn't want to give in. She didn't want to get dropped by her dad and her brother. She didn't want to get dropped by the boys. And that's one of the reasons that she always grinds her teeth and goes full gas. But especially if you look at the youth racing in the Netherlands, and I'm not joking, these 10, 11, 12-year-old, they race 35-kilometer averages. And that's absolutely no joke. I'm involved with a youth cycling event, 6-day stage race. And the 11 and 12-year-olds, it's always a mixed category where the boys are 1 year younger than the girls. So 12-year-old girls, 11-year-old boys, they race 37-38 kilometers an hour average. So that's where you learn how to race in the Netherlands. Yeah, thank you, Thomas, for confirming that Marianne Vos indeed has 3 world titles. That very first one when she was a first-year elite racer, when she was 19. Then, of course, Valkenburg, and the year after in 2013, Firenze. And then some second places behind Bronzini, who doesn't remember that sprint in Copenhagen, for example. But this year might be the year that Marianne Vos is going to take home her 4th world title. She's on grand form. And Yorkshire should be a course that suits her well, as we've seen in the Tour of Yorkshire before. Little question there from Simon about Jasinska. Well, Jasinska signed a contract with the Casa Dorada women's team, a new team in Spain. But I don't know who figured that out. It must be one of the Spanish bike racing fans like Sal Miguel or Yolanda Alvarez, that the Casa Dorada holding company actually is a shell company, and that there's no money in it whatsoever. So I'm still a little bit apprehensive about the Casa Dorada team, where Jasinska signed, also Rachel Nyland signed. I hope that we have a team next year, but so far, if you look in the books and do some research like somebody did on the internet, it might be a little bit dodgy. But I hope I'm wrong about that. Still, Lucinda Brandt leading, but you can see the gap is getting smaller. No more than 10 seconds when we go to the finish line for the 2nd time, and also the penultimate time. It's an all or nothing attack by Lucinda Brandt to get herself on the podium. But I doubt that this is going to get her on the podium after all the effort she put in it, all the energy that she spent in this breakaway. She needs those bonus seconds on the line to get herself on the podium, but I don't think that's going to happen, unfortunately, for Lucinda Brandt. Canyon Schramm defending their 2nd place, because Lorena Wiebes, who's currently in 3rd, and Amy Peters, who is in 4th, are of course formidable rivals when it comes to the sprint and those 10, 6 and 4 seconds on offer there. Klein has 2 seconds on Wiebes and 5 on Amy Peters. So there's a little bit of a battle going on there for the podium. Well, hats off to Lucinda Brandt for trying what she did here. But there's the peloton led by Hannah Barnes, defending that 2nd place, or that podium place, of Lisa Klein. Of course, many points there for offer. This is a very dodgy turn, by the way, especially in full final. But they have seen it twice before we're going to do the final. So, but it's a little bit of a dodgy part of the finish there. Lucinda Brandt caught. Her attack started on the Postbank at 36 kilometers from the finish line. So she's been on the attack 25 kilometers. Great effort by Lucinda Brandt. And now it's back to Boels Dolmans defending the race lead of Christine Majerus. Leah Thomas there of the Bigler team. Also in this group, Emma Norskaart. I think Lizzie Banks is also there for Bigler. And what a great feeling it will be if you've got the world champion working for you. Because that's what Anne van der Breggen is doing at the moment, working for Christine Majerus, trying to keep that pace up to avoid anybody else attacking from that bunch and taking bonus seconds. Wiebes on the right-hand side of the road, moving up there a little bit with Annemiek van Vleuten on her wheel. Also on the left-hand side in the Sunweb colours is Floortje Mackay. Group of about 35 riders, I think, at the front at the moment. These are those pesky climbs on that local circuit with the Sijpendaalse weg and the Bakenbergse weg. This is of course all playing in the cards of Kirsten Wild and Lorena Wiebes. Lorena Wiebes there in 6th position, Wild not in this first group. There's a little bit of a split there with Rianne Marcus leading that group in that red jersey as most aggressive rider of yesterday's stage. Now for Vleuten, she expressed her disappointment in the course of this year. She says it's become a sprinter's race, and I would have loved to have a tougher race because this is the last race for many riders before the Worlds. And I would have loved a tougher race to prepare for the World Championships in Yorkshire with, for example, a stage in the south of the Netherlands in Limburg on the Amstel Gold Race terrain. And she also told the NOS National Broadcasting Service that she would have preferred that time trial in the course also to prepare for the World Championships. But she will not be winner of this race for a 3rd time in a row. And well, she was unhappy with it, but you have to do with the course as it is. This is the second group with the bigger riders called out, with Lizzie Banks there, with Norsgaard, with Lonneke Uneken as well, Marije Meijering there of the Dutch national team. So this is the elite group, the first group in the descent of the Sijpendaalse weg. So all the other bigger riders called out there with only Leah Thomas there in the first group. Yesterday we had the little incident that somebody threw a bottle on the head of Annemiek van Vleuten. Of course that was not intentional, and she already apologized to van Vleuten, so that's case closed. Attack on the left hand side of the road by one of the riders of the Virtue team. One of the few teams that still have 6 riders out on the road. A team that sadly will disappear next year. So these riders are on the lookout for new places. Amy Peters there, trying to close this gap. Another attack there by Floortje Mackay, also Kazianiela Doma of the Kenyan SRAM team. Well, this is where you have to make a difference. This is where you have to make the race more difficult to avoid that bunch sprint, because sitting there is in that green jersey Lorena Wiebes, also Marta Bastianelli, by the way. Let's see if we can find the blue jersey of Kirsten Wild. There is Elisa Balsamo with number 81 of the Volcar team. There she is. Attacked by Elisa Longo Borghini then. The Italian race winner of the Bira. Sadly, the last edition of the Bira ever. And these are these little hard sections where it's false flat and where you really have to try. Now Lizzie Dijkman tries again. Nievadoma tries to get her back. Trek Segafredo down to 3 riders due to crashes. Abby van Twisk, Ellen van Dijk, Pater Noster. And then another attack by Annemiek van Vleuten. Annemiek van Vleuten, look at how incredibly tired she is after a week of racing. But this is what she needs after the altitude camp to get that race rhythm back to prepare for the World Championships 3 weeks from now. Yesterday, 3 weeks from now, on a Saturday, of course, the women's race. And that's going to be a very, very exciting race. Sofia Bertizzolo, the number 4 of the Tour of Flanders, and Ashley Mollman-Passio here of the CCC Live team leading. Lisa Brennauer leading the peloton there. Of course, hoping that Kirsten Wild, her sprinter, is there. Less than 5 kilometers for Ashley Mollman-Passio, the South African rider living in Girona, where she has a bed and breakfast with her husband Carl. Very stunning place if you look at the pictures. Let's see if we can see Kirsten Wild. I still haven't seen that blue jersey, to be honest. That blue jersey of the leader in the points classification. We have seen Ashley Mollman-Passio on the attack in the first road stage of the week in Weert. On the flat roads she tried to attack, and now she tries again on terrain that suits her a little bit better. The rider who's always doing very well in races like Flèche Wallonne, Giro d'Italia, of course. Lovely person, great rider. But the peloton is chasing. Look, it looks like Anna van der Breggen again at the front of the bunch, working for Christine Majerus, the leader in the GC. 30 seconds lead for Majerus on Lisa Klein. So this is looking very good for the Luxembourg rider to wrap up the general classification. But who is going to join her on the podium? Is it Klein? Is it Wiebes? Is it Pieters? Or maybe Brandt, or maybe even Van Vleuten? Those are the contenders in the top 10. Lizzie Dijkman is 7th, but 47 seconds down. So it looks to be a battle for the podium between Klein, Wiebes and Amy Pieters. And they're all within 5 seconds of each other. So those bonus seconds are going to be important and decisive to define who's going to be second and third, because it looks more and more likely that the woman in second place in the peloton here in the orange jersey is going to be the winner of the race. Shanna Korvaar on the right hand side of the road for the CCC Live team. Another attack there by Floortje Mackaij. No, she's just moving up. Van der Breggen keeping that pace high on that penultimate climb as they try to catch Ashley Mollman-Passio back, the South African champion. And what a wonderful jersey it is. And who is going to beat Lorena Wiebes in the sprint here in Arnhem? We've only finished a stage in the Boels Ladies Tour in Arnhem once before. That was in 2017, and that's where Kirsten Wild won the stage. End of the breakaway by Ashley Mollman-Passio, and the next is going to be Bastianelli with Brandt, Majerus, Brennauer. They're all there. Nievadoma, Balsamo, Leah Thomas there as well. Everybody looking. Floortje Mackaij, Lizzie Dijkman in the green jersey, Lorena Wiebes. And yet again, I'm having another look through this group, and there's no blue jersey there. No Kirsten Wild to sprint against Lorena Wiebes. First through the corner, Floortje Mackaij. Oh, crash there by Amy Pieters. Oh, Amy Pieters is the number 4, and also, of course, the number 1 in the race. Annemiek van Vleuten, what happened there? It must have happened in that corner. Amy Pieters and Annemiek van Vleuten on the deck there. It happened in the last 3 kilometers, but it means that Amy Pieters cannot sprint for those bonus seconds anymore that she desperately needs to get on that podium. Heartbreak for Amy Pieters there, the European champion. But hopefully both riders are okay as we move into the final kilometer with Balsamo there in second place. She's got one more teammate to lead out the sprint. So it looks like we have Balsamo, Bastianelli and Lorena Wiebes for the sprint here in Arnhem. And those are the first 4 riders. One lead out rider for Elisa Balsamo. And she's taking a little bit of a gap there. And then it's Marta Bastianelli who has to chase down her fellow Italian. In 4th place, it's Lorena Wiebes. In 5th place, maybe Makai, maybe Lucinda Brandt. I cannot tell you. It is Lucinda Brandt. Great lead out there by Balsamo herself. So the sprint must be for Convalonieri. But there's Marta Bastianelli. Oh, going through the middle is Lucinda Brandt. She needs those seconds to get herself on the podium. But Lorena Wiebes on the left-hand side. Oh! That is a surprising outcome. It's Consonni winning the sprint. Chiara Consonni after the lead out by Elisa Balsamo, meaning that Wiebes is second and Brandt is third, all the other way around. But this is such a surprise. What a fantastic lead out there by Elisa Balsamo for Chiara Consonni. The young Italian rider Chiara Consonni wins the stage here. That is a surprise. She beats Lorena Wiebes and Brandt and Bastianelli and all of them. What a fantastic victory by Chiara Consonni. And what a surprise outcome of the last stage of the Boels Ladies Tour. And she cannot believe it herself. There's tears for the Italian rider. Very young still, Chiara Consonni. Coming from a cycling family. Her brother, of course, is Simone Consonni.
Can we interview you for the live television?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't speak English very well.
A little bit is enough.
Oh,
for
well,
us.
that's okay. Chiara,
Congratulations. You are very, very happy.
Yes, I'm a second year and I'm very, very happy. I have no word. I say thanks to all my team, all my friends, because it's not a teammate, but it's a family. I don't know.
But today you beat one of the fastest women of the world, Lorena Wiebes, in a bunch sprint.
Yeah, my teammate Elisa was very, very super. She, come si dice, tirare la volata, perfect. Non so cosa dire, bellissimo, it's beautiful, it's the best day. It's beautiful.
I was going to ask you, is it the biggest victory for you in your elite career?
Yeah, it's my first victory. And so I say thanks to all my family, friends, team, photographer, and all everybody, because cycling is a family. And I'm very happy to share with you this emotion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Cecily Uttrup-Ludwig move over when it comes to post-race interviews, because this was something else. Chiara Consonni there on the wheel of Elisa Balsamo. Chiara Consonni, 20 years of age. She turned 20 in June. The brother of Simone Consonni, pro rider at Team Emirates, also a good sprinter, by the way. And look at that, head-to-head with Lucinda Brandt and Lorena Wiebes. And Wiebes just timed it wrong. And she wins the stage. Chiara Consonni wins the stage ahead of Lorena Wiebes, who is moving up to second place in the GC due to the bonus seconds that she has here. So it's going to be Magirus in first place, winning the Boels Ladies Tour. Lorena Wiebes in second place, Lisa Klein in third place. That's going to be the podium. But it's what an amazing victory and what an amazing post-race interview. And of course, we've seen the post-race interviews of Cecily Uttrup-Ludwig, but this is something else of Chiara Consonni. Tanti auguri de Marta Cavalli, the young rider, the leader in the UCI Women's World Tour Young Rider classification. Her first pro victory, she said, thanks to her team, thanks to the magnificent lead out by Elisa Balsamo, the former world champion, junior world champion. It's a moment where Pieters and Van Vleuten crash, and this is quite a crash, and oh, I hope that this does not end the ambitions for both Pieters and Annemiek van Vleuten for the World Championships. Well, they can continue the race, but just hitting that curb there. Hopefully they're all okay, but it took Amy Pieters out of contention for the sprint and the bonus second that she needed to get on the podium for the final GC here in Arnhem. Well, you can only smile when you look at the joy of young Chiara Consonni winning her first pro race here in the Boels Ladies Tour. Some images of today with the long breakaway of Malgorzata Jasinska of the Movistar team. She was caught back on the postbank and the Emma Pyramide. Great work there by Monique Tenneglo. And then on the postbank and the Emma Pyramide, there we are on the postbank. It was Annemiek van Vleuten, Lucinda Brandt chasing down Jasinska. There's Lucinda Brandt as we move towards the Emma Pyramide. And also an attack there by Annemiek van Vleuten. 25-kilometer attack by Lucinda Brandt. Her max lead was about 24 seconds, but she was caught back just before the final lap here in Arnhem. Well, thank you very much for watching here on GCN Racing, these final stages of the Boels Ladies Tour. I don't know if we are going to see the podium, so I'm going to say goodbye already. Thanks very much for watching. I have enjoyed being your commentator here on GCN Racing, and I hope to be again in the future. Who knows what will be next? So thanks for watching, and see you again next time. Bye-bye.